Welcome back to Awesome Possum Hobbies and Games, and today's my favorite day of the week. Yes, it is mail day. I got some TCG player orders in today. Let's see what I got. So here's my latest order from TCG Player Direct. This one's quite a good order. I've got some upgrades for some decks, as well as some stuff I'm working on for future stuff. This one is a foil Zaffron Void. It is going to go in my Eldrazi deck. So when it comes into play, you get to scry one, and then it taps reduce colorless mana. Another upgrade I got for my Eldrazi deck, Encroaching Wastes. This is just a land. It's an uncommon. It taps reduce colorless mana, and of course you can pay for it, tap to sacrifice it. Destroy target non-basic land. Some upgrades for some random decks. Four borderless command towers. I'm a big fan of those. I think the artwork on those is great, and it really adds to decks. Though regular command towers work, I think the borderless ones are a lot more fun to use. Next card is Waterlogged Grove, which is land. You can tap it and pay one life to add a green or blue, or you can pay one colorless mana and tap it and sacrifice this card to draw a card. I'm putting this in my blue-green fractal deck. Next one is I got a couple copies of Exotic Orchard. I'm a big fan of the borderless cards, as you know. These are going to be upgrades to existing decks, just so I can have the borderless look, and I really am a big fan of the artwork. I like the full version of this, but of course, foils are not always going to be lucky, so I'll deal with the non-foil version. Next one is Path of Ancestry. I've bought these recently. I bought 3 more copies just to upgrade some decks. I don't like the versions I have in some of my decks, but the borderless ones are freaking cool. So those are some upgrades for some existing decks. Next one is a foil Introduction to Annihilation. Costs 5, sorcery lesson. Exile target non-land permanent its controller draws a card. This is going to go in my Eldrazi deck. Next one is a borderless Command Sphere for 3 cost. It's an artifact. Taps to produce a mana of any color of your commander's identity, and then sacrifice this card to draw a card. Borderless Fellwar Stone. I don't use that Fellwar Stone that often in decks, though. I have a 5-color deck. This is going to go perfect in, and the artwork for this is pretty cool. Koth of Fire Resistance. 2 red, 2 colorless, legendary Planeswalker Koth. Starts with 4 loyalty, and you add 2 loyalty to search your library for a basic mountain card, reveal it and put in your hand, and then shuffle. You can subtract 3 from him to have this card to deal damage equal to the number of mountains you control. In a mono red deck, that can get pretty crazy pretty fast. And then -7, you get an emblem whenever a mountain you enters the battlefield under your control. This emblem deals 4 damage to any target. It's so good. All you gotta do is, go get 2 mountains and put them in your hand over 2 turns, and on the 3rd turn you're able to go through and subtract that 7 to really start doing some damage whenever you draw those, whenever you play those mountains. Next card is a borderless Storm's Wrath. This is a great Wrath type effect, though it doesn't destroy all creatures, but doing 4 damage to each creature in Planeswalker is quite good, especially for 4 mana out of a solid red deck. Deeproot Historian. This is going to go in my Merfolk deck. This is 1 green, 3 colorless creature Merfolk Druid. It's a 3/3. Merfolk and Druid cards you control in your graveyard have Retrace. Kodama's Reach. I love this version of this card, being borderless. 1 green, 2 colorless, sorcery, arcane. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal one of those cards, and put it on the battlefield, tap, and the other one goes in your hand. Conduit of Worlds. This is fantastic for a Graveyards Matter deck. 2 green, 2 colorless. You may play lands from your graveyards, and then you can tap it and choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. You have to activate this as a sorcery. So whenever you have something that's pretty badass in your graveyard, whether it be a planeswalker or a creature or an enchantment, you can go ahead and get it back. That'll be the last spell you cast for the turn, but it could be a key piece that makes you keep going. Well, I'm working on my own dinosaur deck. Zeltapa, Primal Dawn, 2 white, 6 colorless. It's a 4/8 legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur, flying, double streak, vigilance, trample, and indestructible. Once it gets into play, it dominates the board. Bronze Beak, Forgers, 1 white, 3 colorless, 3/4 creature dinosaur. When this card enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls until this card leaves the battlefield. Then for a white and X colorless, put a card with mana value X exiled with this card into the owner's graveyard, and you gain X life. Diviner's Portent. Diviner's Portent, 3 blue, X colorless instant. You get to roll a d20 on this one and add the number of cards in your hand. So if you have 7 cards in your hand and you happen to roll greater than 7, or if you roll 7 or less, you get to draw X cards. If you happen to roll higher, you get to scry X and then draw X cards. Very, very good draw spell, especially because you can play it as an instant. Curiosity Crafter. This is going to go in my blue-green fractal deck. 1 blue, 3 colorless, 3/3 creature, bird, wizard. Flying, you have no maximum hand size, and whenever a creature token you control deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. Another card for that same deck, for 4 mana, with each mana being a combination of blue-green. It's a 2/2 creature, human wizard, and when he enters the battlefield, you get to create a 0/0 green and blue creature token, and you get to put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of cards in your hand. So it's a kind of a 2-for-1, 2 creatures. You get a 2/2 and possible 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, 7/7. That's pretty cool, especially if you could bounce it somehow. Next one is from the Strixhaven specialty set, Growth Spiral. 1 blue, 1 green. It's an instant draw card. You may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield, and 2-for-1s are always great, especially for early game. I'm also a big fan of that artwork. Next one is for my my wife's Treefolk deck. 1 green, 1 black, 1 white, 3 colorless. It's a 3/7 legendary creature, Treefolk Shaman, vigilance and reach, and whenever this card or another creature you control dies, return to 1 other target creature with lesser toughness from your graveyard to your hand. Alistar the Brigadier, 1 blue, 1 white, 1 green, 1 colorless. It's a 3/3 legendary creature, human soldier, and whenever you cast a historic spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. And whenever he attacks, you may pay 8 colorless mana. If you do, creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of historic permanents you control. I'm going to probably put this in my legendary creature deck, because almost all, a bunch of the lands are going to be legendary, and then those don't trigger that. But at the same time, there's a ton of historic spells. There's a ton of artifacts. There's a few different sagas, and most of the creatures in the deck are legendary. So there's going to be a lot of activations for that. Next one is Missy, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, 3 colorless. It's a 4/5 legendary creature, Time Lord Rogue. Whenever another non-artifact creature dies, return to the battlefield under your control, face down, and tapped. It's a 2/2 Cybermen artifact creature. At the beginning of your end step, for each opponent faces a villainous choice. Each artifact you control deals 1 damage to that opponent, or you draw a card and chaos ensues. That chaos ensues part really isn't a big deal, but being able to draw extra cards is always a good thing, especially on a body. And then on top of that, has a static effect of whenever your non-artifact creatures die, you get to make a 2/2 artifact creature that will trigger off of their villainous choice. It's always cool. Next one is Flame of Anor. I'm a big fan of this card, especially if you have wizards in your deck, or if you have other ways of triggering it. For 1 blue, 1 red, 1 colorless, choose 1. If you control a wizard, as you cast a spell, you can choose 2 instead. Target player draws 2 cards, or you can destroy target artifact, or Flame of Anor does 5 damage to target creature. For 3 mana, it's a good spell, especially because it has the versatility to be able to draw cards, or be able to destroy an artifact, or you can do 5 damage to target creature. It's good removal. Next one is Rassilon, the War President. 1 black, 1 blue, 3 colorless. It's a 3/4 legendary creature, Time Lord Noble. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it's remained exiled. Each non-creature spell you cast from exile has Conspire. Pretty good for my future blue-black deck. That's based on the new precon from Karlov, Murders at Karlov Manor. Next card is Dugan, Private Detective. 1 blue, 1 green, 2 colorless. It's a star legendary creature, human detective. This card's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand, and when this card enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to investigate. So this is going to go, one of these copies, because I bought 2, is going to go in my new investigate deck, based on the precon from the Murders at Karlov Manor. And the second ability is the most important punch in history. For a green and 1 colorless, you can tap it, and it deals damage equal to twice its power to another target creature. Activate only once. So it's a great spell. So once it's in play, it is going to be one time. It's not going to fight, but it's going to pretty much punch something for its power at some time in the game. So it's some kind of creature removal that's on a body that sticks there. And out of a green and blue colors, it's a great option. I think I might end up putting this in my legendary deck. We'll see. Next card is a Borderless Chainer's Edict. 1 black, 1 colorless sorcery. Target player sacrifices a creature. And then it has flashback of 2 black, 5 colorless. Next card, actually I got a couple of these. Next one is an artifact, 1 black, 1 white, or 1 black, 1 colorless, Altar of Baal. It has 2 abilities. The first one is the sorcery for adventure is 1 black, 2 colorless, and then you can cast as a sorcery, create a tapped 4/1 black skeleton creature token with menace. And then you can pay a black and 2 colorless. And once it's an artifact, once you cast it for its artifact cost, and you can tap it with that black and 2 colorless, exile a creature you control, return target creature card from a graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. So I got 1 copy for my Tiger Grid deck, and the other one is going to be for my Sidisi deck. Because the Sidisi deck, always going to have lots of 2/2 tokens, 2/2 zombie tokens. So be able to pitch those and be able to get better creatures back from your graveyard is always good. A borderless Fleshbog Marauder. 1 black, 2 colorless creature zombie warrior. When this card enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. This is an upgrade for my Sidisi deck, just because I want to have a borderless one in there, and because I think it's cool. Next one is for my Tegra deck. It's Toshi Umezawa, 2 black, 1 colorless. This is a secret layer card. It's a 2/2 legendary creature, human samurai, Bushido 1. Bushido's not really a big of a deal. I got it for the second part of the deck. Second ability is whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you may cast an instant card from your graveyard. If that spell would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So you're able to get some extra playability for cards that are instances. There's a ton of cards in that deck that force people to sacrifice as instants. The next one is I got a couple copies of Inquisition of Kozilek Borderless from Modern Masters. I think it's Ultimate Masters. I actually am really happy about this one. I want to get a couple more copies of this for a modern deck. It's a, everyone has seen this card before. It's an uncommon sorcery. Target player reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from it with mana value 3 or less. That player discards that card. Next one is another upgrade for my Tegra deck. Right now, I have a foil one of these in there, and that foil one is horrible. You can go through and shuffle that deck 10,000 times, and you can pull that card easy because it has horrible Pringle-like effect of the curl of it being a foil. So I bought a borderless one that is standard, so you don't get that nice little curling going on there. For 1 black, 4 colorless, it's an instant. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Each opponent sacrifices a creature they control with the greatest power, or exile all cards from an opponent's graveyards, and then create X01 black throw creature tokens, where X is the greatest power among cards exiled this way. It's a great card for a Tegra deck, especially because it is an instant. The Battle of Bywater. 2 white, 1 colorless. It's a card from the Lord of the Rings set. It's a sorcery. Destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, then create a food token for each creature you control. This is going to go in my Morph deck. Yes, Morph deck, because it's going to destroy all the creatures that are bigger than the Morphs. And it's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a great addition. Next one is Hero of Bladehold. 2 white, 2 colorless creature human knight. It's a 3/4 with battle cry. So whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0. And whenever this card attacks, create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. This is going to go in my tokens deck. Next card is Winds of Abandon. I got a couple copies. For white and colorless, it's a sorcery. Exile target creature you don't control. For each creature exiled this way, its controller searches their library for a basic land card. Those players put those cards on the battlefield, tap, and then shuffle their libraries. And then you can overload it for 2 white and 4 colorless, which will exile all creatures you don't control. And, of course, they have to go get a bunch of lands, but you just exiled a bunch of creatures. So it's a pretty great card. They can be used as a Path of Exile. Of course, it's sorcery speed and for an extra mana. Or you could pay that overload cost to just completely board wipe except for your stuff. Of course, they get a bunch of lands, which will help them because their future draws are going to be landless. Of course, they're basic lands, so it's not as bad. Next card is Starfield of Nyx. It is a enchantment that costs a white and 4 colorless. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as you control 5 or more enchantments, each other non-aura enchantment you control is a creature in addition to its other types and has base power and toughness equal to its mana value. I got this specifically for my Tom Bombadil deck because it's going to have a ton of sagas that are enchantments. Next one is another card for that Tom Bombadil deck. Power Conduit, 2 colorless mana. And it is, you go through and tap it to remove a counter from a permanent you control and choose one. Put a charge counter on target artifact or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. If you don't have any creatures in play, you can go ahead and put charge counters on this. Of course, those charge counters don't do anything, but you're able to remove those counters from those sagas so you can hit those same chapters over and over and over again to get as much advantage from those sagas as possible. Next one is another saga, though, for the same deck. This one is Blink. It is 1 blue, 1 black, 2 colorless. And chapters 1 and 3, choose target creature, its owners shuffle it into the library, and then investigates. And then chapters 2 and 4 create a 2/2 black alien angel artifact creature token with first strike vigilance, and whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, this permanent isn't a creature card until end of turn. So it's a way of making some creatures, and then also to be able to put opponents' creatures into their back in their decks. And that includes their commanders, which they can choose to put, shuffle back in their deck, or they can put in their command squad, command zone. Next one is another. I bought another copy of this. It's Genesis of Daleks, 2 black, 4 colorless. It's a saga with 4 chapters, and this is going to go in my Tom Bombadil deck as well. So chapters 1 through 3, create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace for each lore counter on this card, and then at chapter 4, target opponent faces a villainous choice. Destroy all Daleks creatures. Each of your opponents loses life equal to the total power of Daleks that were put into that died this turn, or destroy all non-Dalek creatures. Which, of course, some people will vote for because they have no creatures in play and they want to destroy all other people's creatures because they're behind. So it might be a great card to have in play, since you're the ones that have the Daleks, or you can destroy a bunch of Daleks and causes your opponents to lose a ton of life, because if all 6 of them are in play for that's 18 life. 18 life is pretty significant in this day and age. And the last card is another card for the Tom Bombadil deck, Hex Parasite. For 1 colorless, is a artifact creature insect that's a 1/1. So either a black or 2 life plus X, remove up to X counters from target permanent. For each counter removed this way, Hex Parasite gets +1/+0 to end a turn. I don't really care about that, getting bigger part, but being able to remove counters from sagas and be able to have them trigger over and over and over again is incredibly worthwhile. I think it's going to be a great addition to the Tom Bombadil deck. We'll see how it works. Well, I hope you guys had a great time seeing these cards. I can't wait to put them in decks. And, until next time, I hope you guys have a great week and keep on rolling.
And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please take the time to like the video and subscribe if you'd like to stay updated. Have a great day and keep them rolling.